Hey guys, Tina here and welcome to another wrap-up video. I managed to read 3 more books in May and I decided that I want to wrap those up before I move on to June, because in June I have great reading plans. I'm participating in the Simpsathon, which is a new readathon that has been created, and I talk about it in my TBR video and I will link it up here so you can go check it out. And obviously I hope to read a lot more books, so I wanted to be done with my backlog of books and move on freshly into June. So that's why I'm talking to you today. I read 3 additional books, as I said, or did I? I'm not sure. I forgot. But anyways, 3 books, which is good. And the first of those is A One Word Kill by Mark Lawrence. This is his new young adult sci-fi series. I received an arc of it from the publisher over at NetGalley, and I want to thank them for that. And obviously I wanted to read it as fast as I could because I'm so behind on my arcs and I have to rectify that, but obviously I cannot do it all at once. So I wanted to just start here. And since this is a newer one, I thought this was perfect. Anyways, this is a young adult sci-fi book. It's going to be a trilogy. The second book is already out, so if you hear anything that's interesting to you, you can already go to the store and get these 2 books. At least, you know, I'm going to talk about the first one, not the second one, but yeah. And I think the third one comes out in December, so the whole trilogy is going to be done this year, so that is fantastic. I like that. So this book follows Nick, who is a 15-year-old boy living in 1986, I would want to say, and sort of you get the vibe of Stranger Things in this one, but it's not like that. So we follow him as he goes through his life. He has just learned that he has leukemia and that he will have to go through chemotherapy, and he's clearly not happy about that. But what's keeping him optimistic and happy is his friends. He has 3 best friends, and together they play Dungeons and Dragons and have this whole thing going on, and they're also joined by a girl called Mia, and I'm not sure they're exactly sure how she got to be there, but she becomes a part of their group and they accept her, and she also becomes an important part of Nick's life, but that's, well, yeah, it is important for the story, yeah. You know, but it's not like the main focus, at least not in the beginning. Anyway, so we follow his life, and aside from all those things, he also starts to notice that there's this man sort of appearing in his life, and whenever that man is around, strange things are happening to him, and he's obviously curious about it, and soon he gets to know the man and is sort of surprised and shocked by everything that that man is and represents, but it definitely impacts his life, and that's how the story progresses. I'll have to say that I did enjoy this book. I was not blown away by it by any means, but I did enjoy it. It's a fast read, the characters are likable, the story is interesting because, you know, when you hear Mark Lawrence, well, I've only read one of his books and it's an epic fantasy, so I have to say it was nothing like one of his fantasy books. It was still interesting, it was a lot YA-ish. It was a young adult book and it felt like one, and that sort of, I guess, surprised me in a way. I didn't know what to expect anyways when I was going into this book, but I had a lot of fun reading it, and I could not have predicted anything in it. There's a bit of a science, you know, there's some bits that are more scientific-y. Nick is very interested in math. His father was a mathematician, so you get some parts where there's talk about math, and there's also talk about quantum mechanics and multiverses and things like that, and how our decisions impact, you know, every decision that you make sort of starts off a new universe and things like that. And all in all, it was really interesting, and I will definitely continue on with the series, but I think that I will wait until the 3rd book is out so I can just binge read the 2nd and 3rd one then, because I think that's going to be more interesting, at least in my case. And the synopsis of the 2nd one sounds really interesting, so that's actually why I decided to finish the series off, because I want to see how the whole thing is done, I would say. Anyways, that's it for this one. If you want to get it, go to the store. It's already there, hopefully on your shelves there, and you can just get it and read it. The second book that I want to talk about is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This is a very hyped book right now. It's a young adult contemporary romance, I would classify it as. And as I said, people have been raving about it for months now, and I decided to pick it up. I needed something that is not fantasy, just, you know, for some change, I guess, in my reading spectrum for at least a bit, and I decided to pick it up. So in this one we follow the son of the American president and the prince of the UK as they go from a hate to love relationship. I have to say that I found this book to be enjoyable. It was fast-paced. Obviously it's a contemporary, it's fast to read. We follow these boys that are very interesting, very likable, as well there's a bunch of other characters as well. And their story, it's a very interesting one and a topic that is very important. There's also a lot of diversity in the book and all that. And while all that is great, I still don't see why the hype is there, why people love it so much. Because honestly, I think that if this was just a girl and a boy relationship, a book about that, people would not be raving about it, because it's a book, it's a story that we have read a lot of times, at least something similar, if not exactly this. So, you know, I'm not sure if it's actually worth the hype. That's what I'm trying to say. It's very enjoyable, it's perfect for the summer, it's a very cute read, but I don't think that the hype is necessary. The last book that I read is a reread, and I decided to reread, or actually listen to it this time, Wind Witch by Susan Dennett, which is book 2 in her Witchlands series. So this is a series that in Truth Witch we get to meet two girls. One is Safi, who's a Truth Witch, and one is Isolde, who is a Thread Witch. So they're best friends. Isolde, who is a Thread Witch, she can sense relationships between people, connections and all that. And Safi is a Truth Witch, obviously, as I said, and she can detect whether or not people are telling the truth. So her witchery is actually kept a secret, because obviously if people knew about it, they would want to get their hands on her, because it would be very useful to have someone who can determine whether or not people are lying to you. So her identity is kept secret, but obviously they get into some trouble and things just blow up in their faces and they have to go on a run. And while doing that, they sort of connect with two boys. One of them is Merrick, who is a Wind Witch, and he's a prince of this Nubrevna kingdom that used to be very powerful, but there are also other empires and kingdoms in this world, and years back they signed a treaty, a peace treaty, so there's no war actually going on right now, but that treaty is coming to an end, and Merrick is trying to sort of stabilize his kingdom's position and make it a little bit better, because they have been rather isolated. So, you know, his country became from very rich to pretty poor, and he wants to rectify that. So yeah, and there's also Aedwin. Actually, his name was pronounced differently in the audiobook, but I cannot remember how, so we're just gonna go with Aedwin. And he's a blood witch, and he's a monk, and he can smell someone just by their blood, basically, and he is on a hunt to get Safi. And that's basically the premise of the first book. I really enjoyed it. I like the friendship between the two girls, and also the two guys are very likable, at least to me. And in the second book we follow them. Their paths sort of they each go in their own direction, and they learn more about themselves, learn more about what's going on in the background, who is after them and things like that, who's pulling the strings. But they also form new relationships and bonds, and I really enjoyed it. I have to say that this time, while I was listening to it, I was not concentrating as well, so I did not get as much from me listening to this book this time, but despite that I still enjoyed it, and hopefully in June I will get to book 3, which is Blood Witch. So those are actually all the books that I read in the last week or so of May, and let me know down in the comments if you have read any of them and if you agree or disagree with anything that I had to say. But until my next video, I hope you do well, and see you then. Bye!